Welcome to the Monster in My Head show, a podcast where we talk to real people about the real insecurities and issues a lot of us face and discuss unique ways to overcome them. I am Bree, your host, and today's a really special episode. We are actually not talking to another person today, but I will be talking with you directly about something that I'm really passionate about, which is overcoming dating anxiety. So before we get started, I did want to mention that this episode was inspired by a song that I have coming out on Friday. So the song is called Choose to Believe, and it's all about kind of getting back into the dating world and believing that you can find love again after you've been burned, overcoming dating anxiety, all about what we're going to talk about today. So if you want to listen to it, the link is in the description to either pre-save or listen to it whenever you're tuning in to this. And we'll talk a little bit more about that after the episode. So this is kind of an interesting topic for me to talk about because this is definitely not something that I feel like I have all the answers to. This is a journey that I'm still very much on myself, but I have done a lot of research and kind of read some books and statistics that have kind of helped me put together a toolkit of things that I can do to help lessen my own anxiety. So I wanted to share those with you. Again, take these with a grain of salt. Definitely not saying I have all the answers, but hopefully even watching this, you can know that you're not alone in this experience. So the first tip that I have is to remember that a lot of people have dating anxiety. I think in our modern dating world, especially with dating apps, where this whole thing of people are so disposable and it's just kind of a really weird environment to be dating in right now. A lot more people than you would think have dating anxiety. A lot of people are very nervous to go up to people. I know for men specifically, a lot of the guy friends that I've talked to are like, I don't feel comfortable going up to a girl because I don't want to feel like I'm harassing her, which it's interesting because it's like, so thankful for that awareness, but at the same time, that does prevent a lot of interactions from happening. So I think kind of recognizing that a lot of us kind of struggle with knowing what to do. If you're single, this is kind of a weird environment to be in and try to like find somebody to be with, right? So I think recognizing that a lot of us struggle in this way might make it easier to kind of like make the first move. And if things go awkwardly, just be like, well, we're all just doing the best we can out here, man. I think another thing that goes in with that is giving people the benefit of the doubt. I think a lot of us think that if we were to approach someone or talk to someone, that they're just gonna be like, ew. And if they do that, like, fuck them. That's super mean. But a lot of times people are very nice. I know that for me, like sometimes when I've gone up to someone and I've like started a conversation, even if they don't seem interested, they're very kind and it's not weird. You know what I mean? So I think also keeping that in mind that generally people are good as long as you approach them in a way that's respectful and kind. I don't think people want to be like dicks, The second thing that I'm trying to learn myself is that rejection is not the end of the world. I think a lot of us have such a fear, an internalized fear of rejection because we believe that rejection from even a stranger reflects on our own value. And the thing is that is very much not true. If you're going up to someone that you don't know and they're like, no, thank you, I'm not interested, that is more of a them issue or a compatibility issue rather than it being a you issue. They don't know you well enough to reject you in a way that should be able to affect you, right? But I think a lot of us are like, oh my God, like they don't want me. It's like, no, they don't know you. I saw this really interesting TED Talk, and I think it's pretty popular, so I think a lot of people will know it, but I think it was called 90 Days of Rejection, where this guy was really scared of rejection. So what he did is he created a 90-day challenge, or maybe it was a 1-month challenge. I can't remember. Let's say it was 90 days. A 90-day challenge to get rejected every single day, to desensitize himself to rejection. So he would go, I think one example is he would go to Krispy Kreme and be like, can I have 8 donuts for free? And they were like, no. That counted as rejection. So in that, he was training himself to not take rejection so seriously or so personally, which then allowed him to kind of apply that in the areas of his life that mattered. And I think that went viral and that became like a really big thing. So that's something that I've also worked on a little bit too, being like, well, I'm just going to go talk to someone and be like, they might reject me, but fuck it. Who cares? The third tip that I'm working on myself and that I would suggest is to be yourself when it comes to dating. Something that I think I used to do a lot is I would go into situations with a guy and kind of try to see what he would like. Like I'd be like, okay, based on his personality, how should I act? How should I react? And I was trying to mold myself into what I thought he would be interested in. And, sometimes that would work for a little bit, but it would always fall apart because eventually my real personality would come out. It will not be denied. But something I realized was like, yeah, that might allow things to happen initially, but that's not sustainable at all. Like if you're not able to be yourself in a relationship, like when is that going to be less hard? So it's like, even if you're able to get people initially, like being yourself might lessen the pool of options that you have. Those options a lot more sustainable and actually have the possibility of being something real. I know for me, it's kind of sometimes a little bit difficult to be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to fully be myself. Cause I'm a very strong person. I have a really big personality. I can be very loud. I'm very opinionated. I'm very tall. And so there can sometimes be that insecurity of like, oh, maybe I should lessen myself. And I think a lot of women, and I won't speak for anybody else, but I know that a lot of women feel that of like, I need to lessen myself in order to make myself more palatable for a guy or for a partner. But I think the thing to remind ourselves is that that's completely not sustainable. That's not the kind of relationship you'd want to be in or end up in. So why even start out that way? Because yes, it may mean that you're not alone as often because you constantly have options, but creating a long lasting and sustainable relationship by being anyone but yourself is not going to work out for you in the end. So the next tip I have is taking the pressure off. So for someone like me, I had such intense dating anxiety that I just like didn't date anyone for a while. I was just like, you know what? I'd just rather be single. I just like, it was too overwhelming. So even if someone would approach me, I would just kind of be like, no, I'm not interested. I wouldn't even give it a chance. When I kind of looked into it a little bit more, I realized that one of the reasons why I was doing that was because there was so much pressure in my mind of what a date had to kind of turn into in a way, where it was like, if I was going to go out with somebody, that like, could this be my person? Could this be the person that I want to spend, my life with? And I know that sounds kind of intense, but especially if you come from a religious background like I did, there's a lot of pressure, like when you even first start seeing somebody, to be like, could this be a long-term thing, right? So something that I read in a book that I found to be really helpful was the author was like, take the next year and see it as dating practice. You are not going to find your person this year. Just have that be kind of the underlying belief. But what you are going to do is use this year to practice being a better dater so that when you go into situations, you're going in to learn. Obviously, you're going in to interact and have a good time, but you're going in to learn rather than to get a certain result. And what's funny is that a lot of times when people do that, they actually end up finding the right person because the pressure's taken off. They feel like they're allowed to be themselves. If it doesn't work out, it wasn't supposed to work out anyway. So that's something that I've kind of adopted, of being like, well, I'm just going to enjoy interactions that I have, not come in with this sense of like what it has to turn into, but more so be like, this is just for the experience, for the learning experience, for the enjoyment of meeting somebody new. And if it turns into something awesome, but if not, it's really not the end of the world. And the last tip I have in this short little episode is to take it slow. I know for myself that, dealing with dating anxiety, I've been very scared of vulnerability, being scared of opening up, of kind of like letting someone get to know me. And the reason was because I had been so burned before, and I had, done that and then like had people really hurt me. And so the idea of going into a dating situation and being like, oh my God, I have to do that all over again. I have to open myself up for being possibly hurt. Like that didn't sound very fun. That didn't sound very exciting. But something that I realized, like, as I've kind of started going back into that world more, is this whole idea of just like taking it really slow, of whatever pace you feel like you need to take it so that you feel comfortable opening up to somebody. That's totally okay. So for me, I'm kind of like, I really want to get to know someone well. I want to, kind of suss out and see if there are red flags early on that I can kind of identify, and then take it at my own pace and be okay with the fact that it might be slower than what other people might do. But that is something that I need in order to feel safe and feel comfortable with opening up to somebody. I think we all take things at a different pace. So I don't really believe that there should be any pressure of like what something should look like after a certain amount of time. We're all super different. So it's kind of like whatever you need, you can ask that of the person that you're seeing. And if they're into it, cool. And if they're not, then they're not the right person for you. So anyway, those are my little tips. Again, this is something that I'm still currently really working on, but I did want to kind of share some of the things that I had learned in case they were helpful for other people who might be going through the same thing, or also to help people realize that you're really not alone. Being single in this culture right now is definitely very odd. It's a very weird experience. it can feel very stressful to meet people. It can feel like not like people aren't looking for the same thing as you are. But I really do believe that we draw people to ourselves when we're ready for them. At least that's kind of what I'm believing. So anyway, I hope you found this helpful or at least entertaining / informative. But I again want to mention that Choose to Believe is coming out on Friday. I have a whole music video for it. Next week, we're going to be talking about the BTS of the song, talking about how it was made. This is a song that's probably one of the best ones I've actually ever written. It's come from a very raw and very real place, and it's a song that I really think is very beautiful. So I'm really excited to share it with you. I hope you enjoy it. Listen to it, comment, let me know what you think. And I'm excited to see you next week to talk about the behind the scenes. So thank you so much for joining, and I will see you next week.